How you doing, family? I hope that you enjoyed this week's episode. I put a lot of time and thought into this particular episode, really, because uh, this is the first time in my short literary career that I've actually had to remove a character. And what I mean by remove is it was an emotional thought to come up with how I was going to address the fact that we all know that our life is not everlasting, that there, at some point there's going to be a situation where our life is going to change and maybe end. And so I grappled with how I was going to deal with that particular problem in this story. And I think that the way that I approached it is one that was both tasteful, dignified, and at the same time, we were able to learn a lesson from it. So, as always, what did you gain from this week's episode? So, did you find out what the blessing was? And I think that title is indicative of the fact that really the course that Elias took, it absolutely was a blessing for those around him, not just in what he left, but in the man that he was and how he taught those around him the aspects of life that they would need in order to be successful, the aspects of life that they would need in order to be good men. So, what did you get from this story? Well, I picked out four symbols in particular. As always, now, this is what we do: rich symbolism. Okay. And that's exactly what we're going to do in this episode. We've had now four episodes dealing with Elias and the different things that he's had to deal with in life, along with raising Owen and Caleb. And so, what were the four main points that I picked out in this particular episode? As always, I got my notes. So if you see me look off, I'm looking to make sure that I'm on track. Okay. The very first symbol I would say would be the silver mine itself. Now, although on the surface it may represent financial wealth, really the hidden value existed beneath the surface value. Because here, Elias, if you notice, he found something very valuable. He found the whole mine that was full of silver. He found wealth. But did Elias allow that wealth to change him? Did it make him into another person? Did it make him into someone totally different than he was in the first place? No. If you notice, it gave him more purpose in life, because when he began to take on the responsibilities of Owen and then Caleb, you'll notice that even though he was aware that he was a wealthy man, he continued working and teaching and mentoring and developing Owen and Caleb as men. He continued to help them to progress because he wanted them to have a bright future. And this connects with the fact that a man's value is not seen from what he possesses. No, it's seen from what he can develop within himself and what he can foster in others. You see, Elias was able to take what he had, what he knew, and he was able to instill qualities and characteristics into Owen and Caleb that would last them a lifetime. So the silver mine itself, the representation that really the financial wealth that could be involved in the situation does not outweigh the character that's required to use that wealth in a way that would benefit everyone around you. And that's what Elias was focused on. How could he use that wealth that he had acquired to benefit others? So, what did we gain? That some of the greatest treasures in a man's life, they're undiscovered until he has developed the character to be able to use those treasures effectively. So if you have the character, then what you need will come because you have the character. Now, what's the next symbol that we can look at? I would say the mining claim itself, which we come to find out was a secret. As a matter of fact, the whole story that Owen and Caleb had been told evidently had not been told to them by Elias because they had the wrong viewpoint as to how and what and when. So what do I mean? Well, we come to find out that upon finding the treasure, Elias was a much younger man than we initially thought, right? And then upon finding the treasure, he put the boundary markers in place. He documented his claim and he legally secured the mine. But as we mentioned, he kept it a secret. So what does this represent? It represents that now Elias has entered into a portion of his life where he is preparing intentionally. And it also speaks of wisdom because in one point in the story, Elias tells the boys that he doesn't or he didn't want them to work in expectation of something. Well, he wanted them to work so that they would know their craft, but at the same time, he wanted them to be able to work without any expectation of good. See, why is that important? Because a lot of times in their life, as they would mature and grow and become men, they would understand that the job of a man a lot of times is thankless. The job of a man, the providing, the protecting, the teaching, the bearing up under difficulty, at many times in their life would not be accompanied by appreciation and thankfulness. It wouldn't be accompanied by something outward. So what was he teaching them? He was teaching them to develop what was within, develop appreciation for themselves from within by doing work without having any expectation of something externally coming and benefiting them. That's a powerful thought. And is it realistic? Absolutely. Because as I mentioned, as they would grow in life, they would come to understand that that was the point. That a lot of times in life, the appreciation, the thankfulness, sometimes it wouldn't come in the manner that they think it should have come or that they would be expecting it. So, as I mentioned, the mining claim represents intentional preparation. And he wasn't preparing that mind for himself because during the story, we noticed that Elias lived a very, very simple life. The house he died in was very simple. There was nothing majestic or luxurious about his lifestyle. No, he continued to work at what he knew. He continued to be the man that was responsible and dependable and that really was working for the future, we come to find out. So he knew that the wealth, maybe the wealth was outliving. Maybe it would be there when he was gone. But one thing he knew for certain, he knew that the characteristics, the training that he had embedded in Owen and Caleb would far outlast him, and it would go on to benefit generations and generations and generations. And that was his main purpose. That was, I think, the reason why he did what he did. And so a mature man, not a man who lives life haphazardly, not a man who lives by the seat of his pants, but a mature man, he thinks beyond his own lifetime. So what's the lesson that we get from the silver mine, or I should say the mining claim for the silver mine? A man doesn't only build for the life that he's living, he builds for the life that will follow him. So the lives that come afterward, his children, his grandchildren, his great-grandchildren, what have I done that I had opportunity given to me? What have I done that will put them in a position that's better than the one that I'm in? When I go to pass something along, am I passing on a legacy that is one that can be built upon? And have I done my part to give those after me the tools so that they can continue to build? This is the viewpoint of Elias. This is his viewpoint. This is what he's thinking. And so this is the reason why he acted in the way that he acted. So now we're looking at the third symbol. And now the third symbol has taken on different meanings throughout this series. And so what we're talking about plainly is Elias's pickaxe. It represents work, discipline, skill, perseverance, and craftsmanship. Now those statements that, or I should say those adjectives that I use, don't they fit Elias? When you look at what it means to be disciplined, when it means to have skill, what it means to have perseverance, all of those things come to mind when you think about Elias, right? But as Elias passes the pickaxe on, it becomes family inheritance, right? But to the children who inherited, to Owen, to Caleb, to the grandchildren, it's more than just a family heirloom. What is it then? It's a reminder that there was quite a bit of work and effort and perseverance that came before them that prepared the way for them to build upon the legacy that had been left to them. Someone worked before you to create what you have. And this directly connects with the thought that character is not inherited. It's something that's conditioned. Now, you may live in a family that leaves you an immense amount of wealth, but if no one has taught you the character that goes along with what they've left you, then they've done you a disservice. And so what Elias wanted was not only that his children would inherit the wealth, his emphasis was on them developing the character that would allow them to keep the wealth and build upon it. So what is the lesson from the pickaxe? You can inherit a man's possession. He can pass wealth on to you, money, homes, cars, things of that sort, but you cannot inherit his character, especially if it was good character. No, that has to be conditioned. That has to be nurtured. That has to be grown and developed within a person. And hopefully the individual that's leaving the wealth to you is also instrumental in teaching you the characteristics that you would need to develop your character. Okay? Now let's get into the last and probably, in my opinion, the most important symbol in this particular episode, the grandchildren. So what do the grandchildren represent? And this, in my opinion, is really the emotional centerpiece of the whole episode. It really speaks volumes as to the effectiveness of what Elias has done with his life in regards to Caleb and Owen. Because we notice that in the opening scene of this particular piece, Elias is surrounded by Caleb, Owen, their wives, and their children. And he has a conversation with Owen that's kind of emotion packed because he's about to pass away. And his thought to Owen is that he never had children, but then he had to think about that. He had to take that back because he did have children. And those children were standing around the bed, seeing to his needs. A powerful thought indeed. But now that was a bit of a tangent. Let's get back on course, okay? So, as we mentioned, Elias never was married. He never had children. Yet at the end of his life, he was able to look around and see that he had not only children, but grandchildren, right? So those children that Owen and Caleb had, they became his grandchildren. He said that he looked at them as pieces of the men that he helped build. And that was true. So what does that demonstrate? It demonstrates that legacy doesn't always have anything to do with biology. It doesn't always have anything to do with those who are kin to you through blood. A lot of times the legacy that we leave to others has nothing to do with familial or family relations. It has everything to do with someone taking the time to listen when we're teaching. And that's instrumental for any man. Any man. You can inherit a legacy from someone by taking on the teachings, the way that they approach life, the things that have worked for them. You can take the good out of the situation, learn from those individuals and move forward. But as you move forward, you must realize that the way that you live your life demonstrates that they had a profound impact on you. And so Elias, I should say, became a father through a number of things. What would you say? I'd say through investment, instruction, correction, patience, and love. Love. Evidently, Owen and Caleb were in situations where they didn't have close family there to take care of them to make sure that they were okay. And so Elias took that responsibility on as his own, and evidently he did a good job. So Owen and Caleb became fathers first, and then they had the responsibility to pass those qualities and characteristics on to their children, in addition to the wealth that their grandfather had left them. So, how did the legacy move? Let's review. It started with Elias, then it moved to Owen and Caleb. It moves to their children, and then to future generations. So it's a rich and deep meaning behind the fact that Elias acknowledges these children as his own, because most definitely he had a part in raising their fathers. He had a part in rearing their fathers to the point where they acknowledged him as their father. So yes, the deeper lesson here, something that I want you all as an audience to take with you, is that a man's life becomes bigger when his strength, his wisdom, and character begin to produce something in other people. So it's not simply just what you have. It's not simply the characteristics that you develop, the strategy that you have for life. What is this doing for those around you? Is it moving in a way that would benefit those who are in your company? As I always say, if you look back at my older episodes, my perspective of manhood is that individuals who come into contact with you should leave better than when they first approached you. And is this the case with Elias? Absolutely. Owen and Caleb, their wives, their children, all of them have been affected in a positive way by that one example, by Elias's example. So a man might not leave behind biological children, but he can still leave behind generations of people that are better because he was there. So let's sum up these 4 symbols, and we'll say directly how they tie in together. The mind was what Elias discovered. The claim was what he prepared. The pickaxe was how he worked. And the children were ultimately who he worked for. That's a powerful progression. And so when we think about not only this being the final episode in this series, but the finality of death itself, it really puts things into perspective. It really causes a person to really sit down and meditate over whether or not they're leaving something that will benefit those who come after them. So, was the silver the blessing? No, it was just a vehicle to provide for those that Elias loved. In actuality, the blessing was Elias himself. So I hope that you enjoyed this episode. As always, man, I wish only the best for you. I hope that the week is going well, and I hope that everything that you pursue in a positive way works out for you. You know we love you. Peace.